Chantal hit it right on the money, saying us normal folk need to just accept that these fitness influencers are doing the same exact thing that large fitness companies are doing. They sell pipe dreams, they are deceptive, and they are predatory. And on the other side, there really wasn't another side. The rest of the reactions were people just laughing at his apology. It is reeked of bullshit. Oh, you did this to save the young men? Had nothing to do with the millions and millions of dollars you likely made. But then on Monday, the story that was kind of a surprise to me that I got the most attention was that streamer Amouranth getting that getaway kit from a fan. Right? It was 60 grand, or actually ended up being $69,000. So there might be a sense of humor there, as well as a taser, a new phone, and some security groups on retainer. And with this, you had people like Amy Daniels saying that the person sending the help is kind of in a lose-lose when it comes to how they're being perceived. Writing, people, why won't anyone do anything to help her? And then people, after someone gives her tools to live safely and options for support should she need it, why are people being so creepy towards her? Like, do you want people to help or not? What are people supposed to do? Pray for her, but then never actually offer real assistance because it might be seen as perverted? Though I will say, actually, a majority of the comments were very supportive, with people saying things like, that guy sent $70K and phone. To be honest, not creepy. It's legit a fan with a lot to give and probably a history of abuse in their own family. Honestly, with anyone going through abuse with no way out, this would be a God-sent miracle. And there, I will say, there did appear to be this widespread general theory that the person that sent this money must have faced abuse in their own life. Though, going through the comments, there were a few people that said, like, maybe she's faking it. And that ranged from the abuse allegations to the $70,000 kit, which I would say, I'm not the person in question, but I just can't imagine a world where that would be the case. She didn't need the attention. She was making millions and millions of dollars every month before this. And I can say, as someone that has seen it on the outside, abuse can happen in any relationship, no matter how rich or successful a person may be. Also, I saw people pointing to the fact that she still does like hot tub streams and stuff like that, which to me felt like there's this group of people that fails to grasp that like there is a difference between being forced to do something or heavily pressured to, and just doing something when you want to. Right? Those are drastically different scenarios, even if they're functionally the same thing. But then finally on Monday, we had people talking about China shifting its zero COVID policy. One of you apparently living there and detailing how the system's working. Writing, I live in Hangzhou, China. We no longer need to test every 3 days and no longer need to show our QR code when on public transport. Those who work at school still need to scan their QR health code, but still don't need to test. Test stations are still set up, and if someone near you is confirmed to have COVID, your health code will turn yellow and you'll need to go test. But also, the general sentiment was just a shock at how much zero COVID fucked up entire cities. And in particular, how they dealt with things like that man who just didn't want to leave his apartment. And then on Tuesday, we talked and asked about Jenna Ortega. Right? Is it her fault? Should she be held accountable or not for filming while having COVID? And essentially, in the conversation, no one actually was blaming her, with Corbin describing the situation as going against higher-ups is scary. I get why, when told to go finish filming the scene despite having COVID symptoms, she would just go do it rather than facing potential backlash for not listening and being, quote, difficult to work with. And Beth also on the same page, writing, the reason I think Jenna Ortega is less at fault than the higher-ups is I remember being 19. Imagine being 19, breaking into your desired field, and you're playing one of the most iconic characters of all time and working with Tim Burton. I sure as hell wouldn't be going against what production told me to do in that situation, regardless of how much it harmed me. While people like Joshua gave some insight into how this could happen, saying, I currently work in the film industry and have worked through the pandemic. Time and time again, I have watched productions ignore their own rules when faced with a positive result, with them going on to describe a situation where people began testing positive on site, and instead of just shutting things down, the top brass began to merge production days in order to get more work done before they were required to test people. Key thing, even though they knew people had been in contact with positive cases and that it had probably already spread. We also had a lot of conversation around AI-generated art, and it was contentious. Artists like Rebecca saying AI art is hurting us a lot. I already have a hard time getting people to understand why I charge the amount that I do for my art. Now AI can crank out 10 different images in varying styles in a matter of seconds? How the hell do we compete with that? This is going to devalue our work to the point that people will look at it and say, I can get an AI to do the same thing for me for way cheaper, so why should I pay you? It's not fair, Phil. But also at the same time, there are a lot of takes that AI won't kill art at all. People saying things like, my view on AI art is that it doesn't really take away from real artists. In fact, it will probably benefit them. People will be able to tell the difference, and that will increase demand for real art. And art has value because it gives you something unique. This will force artists to be more creative, original, and make art with new mediums. If a computer or a machine can do your work faster, better, and for less money, then you don't bring anything unique to the table. Art didn't die when cameras and photographs were invented, and it won't die now. With some saying that real artists, it'll kind of turn into an artisanal craft. Right? People making comparisons that, like there are companies that mass produce diamonds, but saying real diamonds are still valued more by many. Which I will say, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that angle. That's just because the diamond industry, like that's a whole fucking 20-minute story on its own. However, with all that we've talked about, none of that really resolved the concerns about how the AI is trained. Right? On one hand, you had people arguing that the AI learning from artwork is the same as students learning from pieces of art and being inspired. With someone saying, if I uploaded a picture I drew in the style of Junji Ito, that was pretty much spot on, but nonetheless original, would I get sued by Junji Ito? I don't think I would, even though they did not give me permission. But when an AI looks and does the same thing, that's a problem. You're a drop in the ocean of what the AI is learning from. If you could show that a piece of generated image was directly taken from something you drew, then that would be an argument. But I really don't think that's the case, not with the AI I've seen. Although I have seen evidence that this person does not exist, only makes small changes to existing images, kind of like a deepfake, and that's a problem. But anything goes, and others pointed out that AI images do sometimes directly take pieces from existing works, writing, "It's a fact that in many generated pictures you can find fragmented signatures or traceable snippets of specific individual art pieces. AI art generation is a gnashing maw shoveled full of existing works, and it spits out a mouthful of mush and distinct fragments. If an artist didn't consent to their art being used, it's very likely that the AI generation will eventually use a distinguishable part of an existing work. That new image is passed off as a uniquely generated image when in fact it's partly copied. And if an artist didn't agree to the use of their work, then you're taking an artist's personal property for commercial use without their consent. This is quite literally theft." Right, so this AI art is more akin to someone taking a bunch of snippets of other people's work and slamming them together, which is why you have people defending it, saying essentially this is then transformative. And honestly, looking at all the conversation and debate, I feel like I'm just as lost on this topic as before. It's a messy, weird, new space. Personally, I'm not looking at using AI art for like our clothing or posters, anything like that. We'll still be working directly with artists. But yeah, I completely understand why artists are freaked out about this. And then, I love sipping wine during the holidays, but I hate the stress that comes with picking out bottles I may or may not like. But thanks to a sponsor of today's show, I can just chill and let Bright Cellars be my personal wine service. Whether you're new to wine or not, Bright Cellars offers fantastic wine curated to your taste, delivered straight to your door. You just answer a 7-question quiz and they match the wines to your taste palette. Right, based on the results of my quiz, Bright Cellars provided me with wines that had like tropical and floral notes and black fruit notes. It's my 2 favorite things, easy and awesome. And each box includes wine education cards with tasting notes, pairing suggestions, wine origin, and even the best serving temperature for each bottle. Well, the Avast Dry White and Lost City Malbec were big hits at Thanksgiving this year. And the Lost City pairing with some roasted duck, the Avast Dry White going with some risotto. Oh my God. And, I just rate the wines I receive and they send me wines I enjoy. And with any questions about a bottle, their concierge team is quick to answer. So give yourself the gift of self-care this holiday season, or give Bright Cellars as a gift. It definitely makes for a great last-minute gift card. So yeah, thank you Bright Cellars for giving these beautiful bastards a limited time offer of $50 off of their first 6-bottle box. Just click that link in the description to get started. You can thank me later. And then this actually connects to Wednesday because I was a glutton for punishment / liked everyone arguing and we brought up AI again. Though this time not just focusing on art, instead having AI write a story. And so with that we saw Sam, I think, saying what a lot of artists are feeling. Saying, as a concept artist myself, this whole AI art development is honestly terrifying. If companies have the option to use AI over paying actual visual development artists to cut costs, they will. I just graduated from art school 6 months ago, and seeing people already start to dunk on artists who have developed their skills for years is very discouraging and makes me wonder if this career choice was a mistake. I'm hoping that AI becomes more of a tool for artists than a complete replacement. No computer could ever replicate the kinds of creative decisions that real-life artists make. To which I would never say never, but in general, where things are right now, I agree with that last statement, right? AI will take you 70-80% of the way there maybe, but then most would actually need a human artist to get it across the finish line. And I mean, to a point that's almost like what we do at Beautiful Bastard. Like some designs are all made in-house, but others we use other artists somewhere else, then we bring the design in, we tweak it, we liked elements or themes of it. And I mean, hey, to the idea of maybe it could be used as a tool, yeah, if you're an artist and you have one of those clients that's like, yeah, I can't give you any notes, you could maybe have AI make a bunch of images that show off like different kinds of color theory and then different styles, and then maybe the client goes like, oh, I like this and this, and that way it potentially saves you time. You do fewer rounds of this like pointless work. Though I would ask artists if that makes sense. I've only been the annoying client. But yeah, that's the last we're going to talk about AI today, especially because a big chunk of the conversation where y'all having a lot to say about the interview we had with Alex, with a big focus being on that 4-day work week, starting with no drink the bleach, which by the way, great advice, talking about how great their 4-day work week was, even though theirs specifically was 4 days of 10 hours, and adding having a 3-day weekend was life altering. The extra time I suddenly had to get through the mundane and fun tasks alike more than made up for the time lost. And working 4 8-hour days would be wonderful because I would then feel less rushed to get to and from work, and the shorter time at work would likely result in less clock watching and hiding from management. You also had a teacher saying that a 4-day work week would actually make classes easier, saying oftentimes you see teachers not wanting to teach new content on Fridays or start with a test on Monday. Students and teachers across the board have issues staying motivated to grind through all the days anyway, and that has been well documented and reported. And even if teachers had 5 but students had 4, we could use the 5th day to do all the other stuff that's usually not seen, like IEP meetings, parent-teacher conferences, and calls, and planning for lessons that is usually left to do on our own unpaid time, which if that's the case, I'm all for teachers not having to take their work home with them. There was also a unique solution that maybe some of you would prefer. Instead of Monday through Thursday, it would be Monday, Tuesday, have Wednesday off, then work Thursday and Friday. Or with some saying it'd offer a nice little break in the middle of the week to sleep in or just get things done so your weekends aren't all crammed with your personal tasks. But then finally on Wednesday, we talked about the situation of backlog Social Security claims, with people like Molly telling us, I'm a social worker based in Chicago, and it has gotten so bad not only with the SSA's lack of organization, I've had some of my patients' applications with medical information just fully go missing, but the representatives representatives are so backlogged. Denial without even an interview is super common now. It's so disheartening to work with terminally ill children and not be able to promise them relief. Despite the long wait time,